You about an absolutely incredible story, and I honestly don't know how long we had this on our things to talk about before we started to talk about it, because I didn't want to talk about it until we knew, because something is wrong. That's what I thought. Come on, this doesn't happen in America. It's the story of a young girl named Justina that lived in Connecticut, that had some serious medical conditions, had been seen by her doctors at Tufts, had some surgeries, and then the doctor goes and gets a new job at Boston's Children's Hospital, and they arrange everything so she can go up because she has another bout with illness, and so they arrange it so she can go up and see that doctor. Well, when she gets up there, the doctor's blocked from seeing her because there's a neurologist that says, I think this is basically Munchausen by proxy. And it turned into a nightmare. And now their daughter is not getting any medical treatment. She's getting psychiatric treatment, and she is dying. The parents have not said anything because they have been warned by the court, and they also know if they say anything, it will be used against them. And so they're up against, it's David versus Goliath, except Goliath this time is Boston's Children's Hospital, Harvard University, and the state of Massachusetts. When you listen to Justina's father, Lou, he's with us here in New York. When you listen to him, I want you to see if he is reasonable, if he is rational, if you would be as in control as he is right now if this happened to your daughter. We bring this to you because this is not just about Justina. I have been in this fight before with Terry Schiavo. That one we lost. We might lose Justina.
And this is different than Terry Schiavo because Terry Schiavo was supposedly in a vegetative state that whole time. Lou's daughter was not. She was ice skating January 23rd last year. Was it, Lou?
That's correct.
She was, reasonably healthy, and then she got the flu, and then you had to check her into the hospital, and then everything went south because they wouldn't treat her properly. So over the last year, her condition has deteriorated, so they're making the situation so much worse. So to me, this is even worse than Terry Schiavo's case.
So, Lou, welcome to the program again.
Glenn, thank you so much for having me.
Last night, I was a little nervous about meeting you. We didn't meet before we went on the air.
I've heard that before.
I know. I was a little nervous. Our reporters have been on this story for a while now, and we have checked and checked and checked and checked and checked and checked. And we have tried to figure out what the problem is, because there's got to be a problem.
It's America.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you've heard that before, Lou, a million times. This is the United States of America. My wife said this when I told her the story.
My wife said the same thing.
This can't happen. It's America still. I mean, I know Obama's president.
But
I know Massachusetts,
we're not monsters.
But we're not monsters. This is still America. So nobody can get their head around how this is possible other than to think, well, there's some extenuating circumstance with the family. Yeah.
Right.
So
my wife has said the exact same thing.
Yeah.
This is United States of America. How can this be happening?
Were you guys, at the beginning, did you flip out? Were you throwing things? Did you threaten anyone? What happened at the very beginning here when you were told? Because I probably would have.
I would have. I would have. You would have had to put me in handcuffs.
When you were told, I'm sorry, Mr. Pelletier, you can't take your daughter.
It was mind-blowing. Having the police there who we called to say, look, this hospital is kidnapping my child. 3 detectives, it took a while to get there. Mm-hmm. But then they go speak to the Boston Children's people for a much longer period of time than they spoke to us.
Without you present.
You've called the FBI. You've had the FBI investigate.
Since March of last year.
Right. And so it's not like the hospital called the FBI to have him investigated.
Unreal.
He called the FBI and said, could you please investigate? They've kidnapped my child.
Again, thinking, it's America. Somebody's going to bring justice to this situation.
And so far, nobody has.
No one has.
You're up against titans. You're up against a hospital, Boston Children's. You're up against the state of Massachusetts. You are up against Harvard University, because that's Boston Children's. And you told me last night you believe the reason they have done this to your child is, and basically what they've explained, in case anybody doesn't know, explain what happened. Explain what they're doing.
The quick recap is we went to Boston Children's because her GI doctor, who was the medical director of GI at Tufts the month earlier, had left along with most of his team from Tufts to go to Boston Children's.
Okay, I want people to understand, in case you don't know what Tufts is, Tufts University, this is University Hospital. This is a very well-respected. And so the team of doctors that Justina had been seeing is at one of the best hospitals in the world. And they are being seen by this team. And in fact, this team is so good at what they do, Boston Children's hires that team. Now, what was that team responsible for doing, and how did they diagnose and how did they treat your daughter at Tufts?
The main issue came up with her motility, the ability to get food to be processed through her colon. And Dr. Flores is a world-renowned expert in motility. And one of the first things he did when Justina went to Tufts to be examined for it was he did a colonoscopy, roughly an 8-hour probe with electronic devices to measure her colon movement. And it showed point blank that she had neuropathy of the colon. Her colon was not working. So then the next step was, let's try to be conservative. Let's try different medications and see if we can get it working. But at some point, medications weren't going to be the answer. Then it became a surgical option. And removing her colon entirely, which was the most aggressive, to the least aggressive, was doing what's called putting in a cecostomy tube, which would be a port to the top of her colon with a little button, or they call it a Mickey, on the outside of her stomach that we could open up, connect a syringe to it, and flush her so she can go to the bathroom.
Okay, so these doctors, this is not minor surgery. This is not outpatient. This is major surgery. And they had been working with her for how long?
She had been at Tufts for a year and a half.
Okay, so if indeed you or she were making this stuff up in her head, then the doctors at Tufts, which are now doctors at Boston Children's, should be sued for medical malpractice and unneeded and unwanted surgery. Should they not?
That's correct.
Okay. So these geniuses that were at Tufts and then hired to Boston Children's Hospital, when she's brought in, she's scheduled to see that team of doctors. But before that team, she comes in on a Sunday night, and before that team can see her, what happens?
4 a.m., my wife went with her in the ambulance. A young neurologist comes along, fresh out of residency, and point blankly says there's no such thing as mitochondrial disease. He doesn't come up immediately with what he thinks it is. He just says, we want to try a different approach. So instead of having her moved where she was supposed to the GI floor to see her main GI doctor, they move her to the neurology floor.
So the doctors that had gone from Tufts to Boston's Children
Had not seen her.
Have not seen her ever now? Or do they want to? Have you talked to them? What's going on with them?
They've seen her minimally. Probably the first time was over 8 months after her arrival. And then maybe one more time since then.
And when they first said, we want to try something new, you immediately said,
why not? Go ahead, go for it.
Wouldn't you say that?
Yeah.
If a doctor comes in and says, hey, I you know what? I think it might be misdiagnosed. Mm-hmm. I, as a parent, say, good.
Yeah.
So you're thinking that this is actually a good thing until about 4 days into it.
Yeah. February 13th, which was the third day, we were having conference calls because I was at home in Connecticut. My wife was with Justina at the hospital. But the conference call didn't go well. We started hearing for the first time that they wanted to start taking her off her medications. And the two key medications that she was taking is she has tachycardia, rapid heart rate, metoprolol. They took her off that. Number two, because of the cecostomy tube, you're dealing with nerves that were cut, and when you have mitochondrial disease, your pain tolerance is much less. So they also put her on Lyrica. Boston Children's took her off that. But the kicker, which made no sense at all, was all mito patients are put on a vitamin cocktail. It's all individually designed per patient based on their needs, but things like coenzyme Q10, creatine, magnesium, L-carnitine, you name it, different things that are over the counter.
That she's not getting because she's not processing her food correctly.
That is correct.
Okay. Can I tell you something? I'm on Lyrica, and Lyrica seems to me to be like this crazy drug that you're like, okay, what is that going to do? I'm telling you, because I have a nerve condition that causes great pain. If it wasn't for Lyrica, I don't know. I mean, Pat saw me before Lyrica. I don't know if I would be working today without Lyrica. So I can't imagine what your daughter is going through and the pain that she's in. Now, is she in pain today?
Tremendously.
Okay.
Nonstop.
So they're still not treating her for
No.
pain? They don't believe she's in pain?
No. Tell the story about how they now tell her to go to the bathroom and are trying to psychologically bully her into, you're mentally sick.
The head games that have been played on Justina are worse than any Stephen King novel. Things like having a psychologist put her nose right into the face of Justina and say, why would you let them put that port into your colon? There's nothing wrong with you. To going for days or weeks at a time, that's all been verified, where they would not do the flush. How about this? Justina, we're going to make you sit on the toilet for 2 or 3 hours. Because the only reason you're not going, it's in your head. You don't need this stinking cecostomy tube. You know what that did to her? Can you imagine?
It ripped her apart.
It ripped her apart.
And as they watch her deteriorate, they continue to do nothing for her.
She's in a
treatment-wise?
wheelchair now.
I mean, how is that possible? And again, where are the doctors that were at Tufts that are now there? Are they protesting this treatment at all, or where do they stand?
They're blocked out. Bottom line.
Are they?
Tufts is, you know, it's a big.
I'm going to help you out here.
Go for it.
Lou is not going to say some things that make things worse.
Yeah.
And so let's just move on. Let me have you explain this. A listener called today and they said, we called Boston Children's Hospital, and the Boston Children's Hospital said she's not even there anymore. So this whole thing is a lie. Explain where your daughter is now.
Little over a month ago, partly due to you, Glenn, and some other media, Bo Berman with Fox Connecticut.
He is amazing.
He's the man.
He's amazing.
He's the mini man. You're the big, you're the big man, but he's the mini man. But he's the first one that brought it public.
Yes.
I mean, I don't want to get bogged down, but another media organization sat on this story since April of last year.
Still has. If I'm not mistaken, this media organization, a very large media organization, did it, talk to you, talk to everybody, the reporter promised that it was going to go public, they were going to break this story open, and then mysteriously editors stepped in and said, no, we're just not going to report this story.
They finally did do it, but wasn't until December.
Okay.
Which was, so far.
Yeah, I know. So anyway, where is she? A month ago, what happened?
So about a month ago, due to all the media pressure, public pressure, they moved her to what was considered to be a step-down unit, but it's a psychiatric residential facility in Framingham, Massachusetts.
Okay, again, hang on just a second. Understand, a loony ward, a psychiatric halfway house for people who have psychiatric problems. Your daughter is sick. She's in a wheelchair. They've been telling her, can you imagine the mental trauma that she has gone through? They put her in a psychiatric ward in Framingham. Now, tell me about this psychiatric ward. Is this a place that provides medical services at all?
No. In fact, it states you could call there, you can have Stu, you can do anybody call there. They will tell you we're a temporary transit facility. Typically, our people stay here 2 weeks, no more. Number two, and this is the most important part, we do not accept medical patients. Geez, my daughter's in a wheelchair. That kind of sounds like a medical patient to me.
Do you have access to her there, Lou?
No, we are not allowed on any facility. The only places we can see Justina for a 1 hour weekly visit is at a DCF office.
Once a week for an hour?
Yep. Actually, before I came on the air, we had our 20-minute supervised phone call.
Jeez.
So it's...
I have to tell you, every time I hear you say that, it just overwhelms me because, America, listen to me. Hear me carefully. This is not about his daughter. If you don't treat his daughter like your daughter, we're all toast. The least among us. Lou was on last night, and I asked him how we could help, and he said, just go to freejustina.com, educate, and please reach out to anybody that you know that might have some connections. We've reached out this morning to, or last night to Senator Rand Paul. I think he's a doctor. I think a few doctors that are friends of ours might be able to help, because this is right up his alley. And so we're waiting to hear from Senator Paul as he does research. But the one of the more incredible things is, again, it's David and Goliath. And Lou says to me off the air, we're broke. This is why people don't bring these suits up. They don't fight it, because they know they're going to be destroyed. The whole family is being destroyed here. And if there is a case and this is another reason why they will never admit that they were wrong, is because of medical malpractice and the lawsuit that this man can bring and should bring. You should bring this hospital and the state to its knees, because somebody has to teach them a lesson. But this family is not. They're having a hard time buying food. They're having a hard time keeping the house payment up. Why? Because they're fighting a behemoth. So if you would just go to freejustina.com, and anything that you can do to help this family, whether it is getting online and tweeting it and Facebooking it and being an advocate. I will tell you, and Pat said this or Stu said this morning, he has not heard me do this before, but I have now met with Lou twice, and I want to tell you something about him when we come back. I have to take a quick break. I'm sorry, I lost track of time.